You shouldn't talk to that kid, their trashiness might rub off on you. Saying this, a mom from the parent group not only bullied me but also used my daughter to do it. I won't let anyone bully my mom. Seeing this mom's behavior, my angered daughter decided to publicly confront her. I'm Karen Miller, a 32-year-old part-time worker, living with my daughter, Abigail, and my husband. Recently, due to my husband's job transfer, we moved to a new place and started sending Abigail to a new kindergarten. Abigail was initially resistant to changing kindergartens, crying and throwing tantrums about moving, but once we settled in, she adjusted well to her new school. Just as I was getting comfortable with her adaptability, I met Mrs. Jessica Patterson, the mother of a boy named Bob in Abigail's class. Jessica had a dominant personality, always wanting to gather the moms for group activities. I wasn't really into that kind of thing, so I politely declined her invitations while looking for a new job in the area. However, as days went by, it seemed like Jessica took an issue with me and started bullying. I was hoping to have a fresh start in this new place, but felt deeply discouraged. Good morning, Bob. My daughter greeted. Bob, Jessica's son, returned the greeting with a smile. But standing behind him, Jessica gave me a glaring look and clearly showed her displeasure. You shouldn't talk to her. Her family is really poor and trashy. But I always play with Abigail. Well, you should stop that. I'd be worried if something happened to you, Bob. Jessica said, making a dismissing gesture towards my daughter. Seeing my daughter treated this way made my blood boil, and I glared back at Jessica. She responded with a visible frown and said sarcastically, Look at that, she's glaring. Scary. Bob, let's go over there. Jessica then took her son's hand and left. My daughter looked up at me, puzzled. Why can't I play with Bob? Her innocent question made my heart sink. Seeing my reaction, she tilted her head even more. I'm sorry, sweetie. It's because I had a disagreement with Bob's mom. Really? Yes. Bob's mom seems really mad. What did you do, Mom? Well, I honestly don't know. Seeing my daughter's confusion made me feel even worse. I thought it was inappropriate for an adult to involve children in their personal quarrels, but it seemed like that's just the way Jessica is. Recently, my daughter had also been on the receiving end of Jessica's animosity, and I was constantly worried if Bob might be mean to her in class. But handling someone like Jessica wasn't going to be easy. After dropping Abigail off at kindergarten, I went back home and did some chores, all the while wondering how I could possibly improve my relationship with Jessica. If things continued this way, it could seriously hurt my daughter. I remembered how it all started a few weeks after we moved. I first met Jessica on the day I took Abigail to her new kindergarten. She said we should get along because our kids were in the same class and invited me to a chat group. Without much thought, I joined the group. When I got home, I sent a message introducing myself. Afterwards, Jessica bombarded me with questions in the group chat, asking where we used to live, what my husband does, the layout of our house, and so on. At first, I answered all her questions, but after a while, I grew uncomfortable and started giving short replies. Towards the end, I think I had been rather curt in my replies. I thought the barrage of questions would finally come to an end and our conversation would be over, but then Jessica, the queen bee of the moms, invited me to a lunch meetup. We have a tradition of gathering every Friday. Karen, you should definitely join us. I declined Jessica's invitation, saying, I'm sorry, but I have my part-time job that day. Oh, come on, can't you work around that? I just started this new part-time job, so, as much as I appreciate the invite, I can't make it. You know, bonding with other moms will be important down the line. It's just once a week, can't you somehow make it? Despite her persistent approach, I sent another message apologizing and declining. Then, Jessica's tone completely shifted. She became openly displeased, saying, Considering you live in a detached house, are you so broke that you need that part-time job? I was shocked to see her message. I denied being financially strained, but she continued with a series of confrontational messages. I thought, if she really wanted to have the lunch so badly, why not just change the day? But Jessica was adamant it had to be on a Friday. Realizing the conversation was going nowhere, I firmly declined once more and ended the conversation. After that, I turned off my notifications and ignored all incoming messages from Jessica. The next day, with trepidation, I opened the group chat. To my relief, the chat had moved on from our exchange, with topics now revolving around gossip about the teacher and other moms. Seeing that, I felt a mix of relief and discomfort, so I decided to just observe the chat interactions from the sidelines. Most of the conversations in the group chat revolved around gossip, so I made a point to only respond when directly addressed. About a month later, I found myself kicked out of the group chat. I guess Jessica didn't like the fact that I wasn't as involved as she wanted. Upon being removed from the group chat, I started being avoided by Jessica and her clique. I didn't mind, as I had always felt out of place. However, Jessica seemed to hold a grudge against me. She started openly ridiculing me, calling me poor, and even began commenting about how my daughter was not well raised. I always thought she was troublesome, but never expected her to be this childish. Ignoring her felt right, but constant bullying does wear you down. I found myself sighing in exasperation. That day, kindergarten went on till the evening. I decided to make a quick stop at the supermarket before picking up my daughter. When I arrived at my daughter's classroom, the teacher called out to her with a smile. As I greeted the teacher and held my daughter's hand, I bumped into Jessica. It seems our pickup times had overlapped. I usually made it a point to collect my daughter when I knew Jessica wouldn't be around, but today was just unlucky. For some reason, Jessica had decided to dress quite flashily, maybe in an attempt to appear younger. She's a mother of 2 and older than me. Considering her eldest son is about 7, she's probably around 39. Given her age, I thought today's outfit was a bit too young for her. As I nodded slightly and tried to leave with my daughter, Jessica stopped me with her usual smirk. Still dressing like you can't afford anything decent, huh? Maybe try a little harder, considering you're younger than me? Jessica said with a mocking smile. When I replied curtly to avoid the conversation, Jessica shot me a displeased look. You probably only shop the clearance racks at the supermarket. Don't you ever think of treating your daughter to something nice? Unfazed, Jessica continued, glancing at my shopping bags and making a snide remark. I decided to ignore her comments and quickly end the conversation. No matter how I tried to smooth things over, she was determined to belittle me. It felt like a waste to even engage. Sensing my frustration, she started to say something even more demeaning. When her son, Bob, approached. Mom, what are you doing? Unlike Jessica, Bob has a calm and gentle demeanor, quite the opposite of his mother. He and my daughter Abigail get along well, so he spotted us quickly and gave us a warm smile. Abigail, make sure you come to my birthday party, okay? Bob's words made Abigail nod enthusiastically. When I asked her about it, she revealed that Bob had given her a ticket to his birthday party earlier that day. She pulled the ticket from her bag and waved it excitedly, causing me to smile. That sounds like fun. However, Jessica, who had overheard our conversation, raised her voice in an intimidating manner. You're not seriously thinking of going, are you? Bob. Why did you invite Abigail? Well, Abigail and I are good friends, Bob reasoned. Didn't I tell you their family is very poor and lacks class? I also said you shouldn't play with her again, remember? Why can't you listen? But Mom. I don't want to hear any excuses. Get the ticket back from Abigail right now. Jessica shouted. I frowned at her reaction. Sensing my discomfort, Jessica leaned in and snapped. Got a problem? It's only natural to discipline a child when they do something wrong. Bob hasn't done anything wrong, has he? No, but he broke a promise with me. Breaking a promise is wrong, which is why I scolded him. Can you please not interfere with how I raise my child? I was taken aback by her justification. Jessica was teaching her son to shun his friends. That's just wrong. Yet, whatever I tried to say, she insisted she was right. To make matters worse, she even started claiming that my daughter Abigail was unruly and lacked class because I didn't discipline her properly. Soon, Jessica's group of friends gathered around after hearing the commotion. They listened to Jessica's exaggerated version of events and laughed mockingly at Abigail and me. Surrounded by their cruel words, I was on the verge of tears when Abigail, seeing my distress, asked, Mom, are you okay? Feeling that it was pointless to argue with Jessica anymore, I told Abigail to return the ticket. Why? She questioned. We have something else going on. I made up an excuse on the spot. I hated lying to Abigail, but I just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. However, interrupting our conversation was Bob, Jessica's son. Why can't she come? It's my birthday party. I can invite whoever I want, right? Bob looked up at his mother as he spoke. Upon hearing his words, Jessica, visibly irritated, snapped. No means no. Bob quietly sulked and looked down. Abigail, looking equally unhappy, handed the ticket back to him. Seeing the saddened expression on Bob's face hurt my heart. I didn't care much about Jessica, but Bob was such a good kid. It pained me to see him upset like that. Furthermore, I couldn't tolerate them mocking Abigail anymore. I hoped Jessica would change her attitude, especially in front of the kids. I wondered what I could say to Jessica to make her stop this behavior. If I tried to appease Jessica, would she be satisfied? Thinking about all this gave me a stomachache. The next day. Today, kindergarten let out at noon. When I went to pick up Abigail, she and Bob were whispering about something. As I called out to her, Abigail turned and ran over with a smile. Contrary to the day before, she and Bob exchanged cheerful waves. Something good happen? I asked. Abigail grinned, showing her teeth, and whispered. It's a secret. She then motioned for me to lean in. Actually, I got a ticket to the birthday party. What? I exclaimed in surprise. Abigail repeated. It's a secret. Emphasizing her point loudly. Seeing my cheerful daughter, I felt conflicted about possibly exposing her to Jessica's malice again. Once home, I asked, can you tell me more about it? Abigail nodded with a smile, pulling me along in her excitement to get home faster. Once we were home, she proudly held up the ticket. It was the same one she had the day before. The ticket read, "Come with Mom," in childlike handwriting. Seeing it, I wanted to celebrate together, but I doubted Jessica would welcome me at her home. However, my daughter, with a mischievous intent, ran up to me saying, Listen. Bob told me that even if we go to his house, his mom won't get mad. But just yesterday. I don't think I want to go after all. I couldn't meet my daughter's worried eyes. Then, she reassured me, saying, It's okay. I'll protect you, Mom. Bob and I came up with a plan. She explained the conversation she had with Jessica's son that day. Apparently, Jessica speaks ill of me even at home, and her son, thinking his mom was bullying me, told my daughter about it, hoping they could make amends. They planned to use his birthday as an opportunity. I felt embarrassed that the kids had to go out of their way for me, but I thanked my daughter. Still, I couldn't imagine Jessica sincerely apologizing. As I pondered how to convey this, my daughter said, There's a surefire way she won't get mad. Hearing her plan, I couldn't help but smile. Taking their straightforward feelings to heart, I decided to attend the birthday party at Jessica's son's house. On the day of the birthday party, I arrived at Jessica's house. When I rang the doorbell, a camera showed my face, and Jessica appeared, looking displeased. What do you want? I didn't invite you. Quickly, my daughter showed her the ticket. Jessica, with a shocked expression, hysterically shouted, Did you steal this from my son? I can't believe it. My daughter shook her head, clarifying the misunderstanding. At that moment, Jessica's son came over, having heard the voices. I invited them. I really wanted Abigail to come. Turning away from his irritated mother, he pretended not to hear and welcomed us into the house with a smile. Jessica was frustrated, thinking we were a bad influence. Entering the room, we saw Jessica's entourage already there, whispering among themselves. They probably said we were out of place. Ignoring the gossipy moms, my daughter and I wished Jessica's son, Happy birthday! Having you here is going to ruin a perfectly good party. Can you leave? Jessica persisted, but her son retorted, It's not your party! While she was exasperated with her disobedient son, he was happily playing with my daughter. Seeing the other kids also having fun, the atmosphere among the mothers became more relaxed. However, Jessica continued to scold loudly. Being in an apartment, she shouted about the noise bothering the neighbors and criticized how the kids were eating. Then, seemingly reaching her limit, she loudly scolded her son. Why aren't you listening to me today? You're not usually like this. What's gotten into you? Were you influenced by them? I told you to stop hanging out with them. Their daughter is uncouth, running around, and she's so stubborn and disrespectful to adults. Directly, Jessica yelled at her son, pointing at us and telling us to evacuate. Jessica's son, looking slightly upset and looking down, finally responded in a loud voice. Today's my birthday, isn't it? You said birthdays were special and I could do whatever I wanted, didn't you, Mom? He glared at Jessica. Upon hearing this, Jessica's face showed clear surprise. You've always said breaking promises is bad, right? When we were preparing for my birthday, I asked if I could do what I wanted, and we made a promise. Jessica's son said this, looking up at her with a slightly sulky face. Jessica seemed to recall this, and she was lost for words. This was the reason Abigail and Bob believed they couldn't be scolded. At kindergarten, the daughter and Jessica's son talked about a birthday party. At that time, Jessica's son said that a birthday is a special day. Because it's a day where he's the star, Jessica would never get mad. Hearing this, the daughter thought that if it was his birthday, even if she and her mother attended, they wouldn't get scolded. Hearing this, Jessica's son agreed with the daughter, thinking that if he could do whatever he wanted, he could invite any friend he liked, so he invited the daughter. He decided to make a promise with Jessica in advance. Since Jessica had declared before that breaking a promise is bad, he must have believed she wouldn't break it. You said I could do what I wanted on my birthday, but you broke your promise. Mom, Jessica's son said, looking away with a petulant expression. Jessica tried to cover it up. It's not like that. But she was clearly flustered. It's weird for you to be the only one breaking promises. No, it's not that. I was just worried that Abigail might have a bad influence on you, Bob. I mean, since Abigail's mother is careless, Abigail must be rough, right? What if you got hurt? I'd be worried. It's okay. Abigail is always praised. She knows I'm not good at running, so instead of playing tag, she always chooses hide and seek. So, I won't get hurt. Jessica took a deep breath upon hearing her son's words. Pouncing on this, Jessica's son asked, Why do you say mean things to Abigail and her mother? You always say we shouldn't do things that upset others. Abigail said she felt bad the other day because of what you said. Jessica's son looked at his mother with an angry expression. Jessica met his gaze, biting her lower lip with regret. Watching Jessica, I felt oddly satisfied. However, Jessica wasn't delicate enough to run away from this. It wasn't mean. I was just trying to correct Abigail and her group when they did something wrong. What did they do wrong? Abigail's mom ignores us. Since Abigail is raised by a mother like that, she's bound to ignore her friends too. Upon hearing the words, my daughter pouted and said, That's not true. Jessica retorted, You're always talking back. You lack manners. My child is different from you. She plays the piano and studies hard. Hanging out with Abigail, my child might become a bad influence. She pointed at the grand piano in her living room, stating with an air of superiority. You don't know about pianos, do you, Abigail? Haven't seen or touched one, right? You wouldn't be able to sit still. My child is different from you, so stop hanging around her. Quick to respond, my daughter said. I know about them. I can play the piano too. Without hesitation, she sat at the piano and lifted its lid. Jessica, fearing the piano would be damaged, was furious. I assured her. If it gets damaged, we'll compensate. You'll compensate? I won't forget you said that. Jessica sneered, allowing my daughter to proceed. As Jessica glared at her, my daughter began to play the happy birthday song with determination. When she finished, she looked back at Jessica with pride. Jessica stood there, stunned that my daughter could actually play. I always see her playing with toy pianos. I said. She seems to have picked it up from there. Whenever we go to stores, they always let her play. Jessica, with a smug look on her face, snorted and let my daughter do as she pleased. Even though my daughter was being glared at by Jessica, she began to play the happy birthday song with all her heart. The surrounding friends were also taken aback and began praising my daughter for her talent. They began discussing how their own children resisted taking strict piano lessons. My daughter shyly asked Jessica, Can we play together now? But Jessica persisted. Anyone can play that. Even my son Bob can. She made her son sit at the piano. Go on, play. She ordered. Reluctantly, Bob began to play. But whether it was the pressure or nervousness, he made several mistakes and soon stopped playing. Why did you stop? You always play so well. Show everyone. Jessica pressed. Bob replied. I don't want to play anymore. Turning away. Seeing this, I tried to intervene. It's okay, let it be. Jessica, her face red with anger, snapped. Don't get ahead of yourself. What's the matter? Just because your daughter did well, you're feeling smug? Bob, don't become like Abigail. Showing off is not good. Is showing off bad? Like the bag you always brag about? What? The one you got from some stranger? You're always showing it off, Bob said, dashing to another room to retrieve the bag. This one, Mom. The one you got from a man I don't know. I heard you talking to him in the living room when you told me to study in my room. Wait, let's not talk about that now. And who was he? Keeping it a secret from Dad is bad, right? The shocking revelation by Bob made me raise my eyebrows. Even Jessica's friends were whispering and looking at her from a distance. An uncomfortable silence filled the room, broken by the doorbell ringing. Trying to dispel the tension, Jessica rushed to answer the intercom in a high-pitched voice. Oh, it's Dad! Bob exclaimed, running to the front door. As Jessica tried to stop him, she was too late. The door opened, and a calm conversation began between Jessica's husband and Bob. Thank you all for always being so kind to my wife, said Jessica's husband, greeting us with a smile. We were unsure of how to react, having just heard about the mystery man from Bob. Picking up on the strange atmosphere, he looked puzzled. Is something wrong? Bob, eager to share, called out. Listen. Mom's been really mad, even though it's my birthday. Wait, why's she mad? She's mad because I invited Abigail over to our house. She promised I could do what I wanted, but she broke it. She even got mad when Abigail played Happy Birthday on the piano. She told me not to brag, so I told her about the bag she always brags about and said it's not good. Bob, Jessica's son, said, pointing to a bag thrown on the floor. Jessica, with a pale face, hurriedly picked up the bag, but it was too late. Her husband gave her a suspicious look, examining the bag. Hey, what's this about? I don't know this bag. Did you buy it? No, some guy I don't know gave it to Mom. I only know his voice because whenever he comes over, I'm told to study. Jessica's husband grew increasingly stern at his son's words. Even as Jessica hurriedly tried to explain, her husband just let out an exasperated sigh. I kind of figured something was up. You started wearing unfamiliar clothes and suddenly dressing up more than usual. It seemed off. That's not it. It was for a lunch with my mom friends. You've been spending a lot lately, haven't you? Wearing short skirts and flashy outfits. It was just a lunch at a hotel with my mom friends. Enough with the excuses. I have something to admit. I've been investigating your behavior. I said I was gonna work today, but I actually went to hear the investigation results. I got the paperwork. We need to talk. Jessica looked down, tears forming in her eyes, glaring at her husband and son. You've come to humiliate me too? To mock me in front of everyone? Her face turned red as she clenched her fists. Her husband just shook his head in disbelief. Maybe if you acted more appropriately, you wouldn't feel this way? Having me, someone she had bullied endlessly, tell her that must have really stung, as Jessica's face turned even redder and she twisted her mouth in frustration. Other moms, who used to join Jessica in teasing me, now looked away out of embarrassment. I left Jessica's house with my daughter, leaving all of them behind. Later on, Jessica was served divorce papers by her husband and was thrown out of their home. Apparently, she had given a lot of money to her lover, and all of that was demanded back as alimony. Since Jessica wasn't working, she went crying to her parents for the money, but they scolded her and refused to help. In the end, Jessica took out loans to pay the alimony. Furthermore, because of her long affair and the debt, she lost custody of her son. Jessica had to return to her parents' home and work day and night at a job they found for her to repay her debts. I heard this story from her old clique. I never thought things would turn out like this, but it's her own doing. I genuinely hope she reflects on her actions. With Jessica gone, life at the kindergarten became much easier for me. Jessica's son, now free from his mother's oppressive influence, seemed to have become more assertive. Seeing him play freely with my daughter, holding hands, warmed my heart. I hope the two of them remain close friends in the future.